여러분 안녕하세요. 참석해 주셔서 대단히 감사합니다. 마르코 루지에로 박사, 제가 존경하는 분인데요. 세계적으로 저명한 과학자이자 혁신적인 연구로 많은 관심을 받고 있는 마르코 루지에로 박사님께서 생명공학과 그리고 종양학, 면역학, 신경학, 분자생물학, 생물물리학, 양자생물학의 분야를 넘나들면서 성공한 R&D의 새로운 물질 VAR 그리고 LA203을 소개하는 자리를 마련했습니다. 이 두 물질은 면역계와 신경계, 난치, 불치, 희귀질환 치료의 획기적인 가능성을 제시하며 전 세계 여러 분야에서 주목받고 있습니다. 오늘 컨퍼런스에 모시는 분들은 국가행정기관, 해외 국제개발계획위원회, 연구자, 제약사, 투자자 및 다양한 업계의 전문가들로 모시게 되었습니다. 자, 그러면은 바로 컨퍼런스를 시작하기에 앞서서 루지에로 박사님을 간략하게 소개하도록 하겠습니다. 루지에로 박사님은 그 누구도 도전하지 못한 연구의 길을 걸어오셨습니다. 에이즈, 암, 종양, 권위자인 피터 듀스버그 박사님부터 그리고 노벨상 수상자 로저펜 로즈경, 그리고 노벨상 수상자 존 뱅경, 각 분야에서 최고의 평가를 받고 있는 세계적인 석학들이 우리 루지에로 박사님을 혁신적인 천재 중에 천재라고 그렇게 인정을 하고 있습니다. 특히 자연치유의 대처의학의 큰별 디트로이트 클링 하트 박사님, 그리고 암 종양 유전자 거장이신 미국 국립암연구소의 스튜어드 알란손 박사님, 그리고 자폐의 독보적인 존재인 제프 브래드 스트레이트 박사님, 그런 분들과 공동 연구를 하였으며 세계적인 천재 동료 학자들 중에서는 그는 세계 과학계를 이끌어갈 수 있는 큰 별이라고 그렇게 평가하고 있습니다. 그가 연구한 혁신적인 R&D 물질, 지금도 전 세계 여러 분야에서 치료의 패러다임을 제시하고 있습니다. 면역계 및 신경계 질환의 새로운 가능성을 제시하고 있습니다. 오늘 과학이 도달할 수 있는 그 경계를 넘어서 함께 상상할 수 있도록 도와주시는 마르코 루지에로 박사님을 소개하도록 하겠습니다.
Now I wanted to show you the hard science behind the second product that I developed for this toy. This product, as the title says, is a novel approach to neurodegenerative diseases, autism and cognitive decline. This product is called LA203 and it constitutes a novel approach to a number of neurological conditions from neurodegenerative diseases to autism and cognitive decline. How is it possible that one product can be good for all these different diseases? Because all these conditions share a common denominator, alterations of brain entropy. Brain entropy is a measure of the complexity and unpredictability of brain activity. It is often quantified using mathematical tools like information theory, which calculates the amount of information contained in a signal. Higher brain entropy can indicate increased neural variability. The brain is generating a wider range of patterns and responses. Reduced predictability. Brain activity is less predictable and more creative. And greater cognitive flexibility. The brain is more adaptable and capable of switching between different mental states. Lower brain entropy can suggest reduced neural variability. The brain is generating a narrower range of patterns and responses. Increased predictability. Brain activity is more predictable and less creative. Decreased cognitive flexibility. The brain may be less adaptable and more rigid in its thinking. Brain entropy is thought to be related to various cognitive functions and mental states, including attention. Higher entropy is associated with better attentional focus. Now, you have high brain entropy because you are focusing on what I'm saying. Creativity. Higher entropy is linked to greater creativity and divergent thinking. Consciousness. Higher brain entropy is a hallmark of consciousness. Neurological disorders. Abnormalities in brain entropy have been implicated in certain neurological disorders such as Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. The entropic brain hypothesis contemplates that within upper and lower cutoff points, beyond which consciousness may be significantly reduced or absent, the entropy of spontaneous cerebral activity represents a measure of the informational richness of conscious states. Consistent with this hypothesis, brain entropy increases during physiological development and decreases during states of reduced consciousness such as aging, Alzheimer's disease, dementia, and cognitive decline. His brain entropy is definitely much higher than mine because I'm much older. The following words come from an article and it says, Alzheimer's disease showed a catastrophic brain entropy reduction, which was related to more severe cognitive impairment and daily function disability. LA203 constitutes a novel approach to restore brain entropy. Here, a biomolecular approach aimed at increasing brain entropy is described. This approach is based on negative entropy, entropy, driven self-assembly of two types of information-containing aperiodic crystals. The rationale leading to the development of information-containing crystals lays in the known association between entropy and information. These are the words of Paul Shannon. More clearly stated, information is an increase in uncertainty or entropy. The concept of information entropy was created by the mathematician Claude Shannon. The first type of crystals consists of polylysine and glutamic acid. Polylysine constitutes the backbone for the establishment of electrostatic bonds between the positively charged amino groups of polylysine and the negatively charged acidic moiety of glutamic acid. The second type of crystals consists of a mixture of lysine, alanine, tyrosine, and cyanocobalamin with vitamin B12. It is complex through formation of electrostatic bonds with the acidic backbone constituted by the sulfitic polysaccharides, where the negatively charged sulfate esters and carboxylic groups of the polysaccharides bind to the positively charged moieties of the amino acids and cyanocobalamin. The two types of crystals interact in a CO2-enriched hydrophilic medium with the resulting self-assembly of complex structures composed of random-sized aperiodic crystals of polylysine glutamic acid and sulfated polysaccharides lysine, alanine, tyrosine, cyanocobalamin. Although the crystals are formed to the entropy-driven self-assembly, because of their random size and therefore random distribution of electrical charges on their molecular surface, they contain an elevated degree of information. Once formed, the crystals are assembled under the form of a capsule that can be ingested. Brain entropy measurements and clinical observation are then performed. Now, all these are beautiful words, or boring words, we decide. But can we demonstrate objectively that we are able to increase brain entropy and therefore to help with a number of conditions? In the next slides, I will show you three different approaches demonstrating that we actually can increase brain entropy. Interestingly, all these approaches are inexpensive. You can perform them at home and judge for yourself whether it works or not. So you do not need any expensive equipment, you don't need lab analysis, you don't need expensive hospitals. All these measurements can be performed at home, if you like. So we used three techniques. First, transcranial ultrasonography performed on the temporal lobes of the brain. The second technique was to measure the neural activity in the prefrontal cortex, Brodmann area 10, by monitoring cerebral oxygenation and blood volume changes using a functional near-infrared spectroscopy. And the third method was to use the cognitive assessment questionnaire. For the evaluation of brain entropy, we applied a technique of transcranial ultrasonography that we developed since 2012 for the study of the brain in healthy individuals as well as in subjects with autism. With this technique, we can study the morphology and function of the human brain with no discomfort. The two articles shown here demonstrate the efficacy of this technique. For this technique, we use a common ultrasound system. You can buy one on eBay for $100. So you can study your brain very easy. With this technique, we can study the brain cortex and its neuronal layers as if we used a microscope. This image here is a classical image obtained with a microscope. This image here is what you see with an ultrasound system. And you can see all the neurons, all the structures of the brain. The following slide will show the increase in brain entropy following consumption of LA203. The increase of brain entropy can be observed as an increase of complexity in the pattern of echogenicity. Increased noise or variability in the ultrasound signal indicate a higher brain entropy, suggesting greater neural activity and complexity. In simpler terms, the panel on the right is whiter and more complex than the panel on the left. These results objectively demonstrate the efficacy of LA203 in increasing brain entropy. Now, this is difficult, but if you look with attention, you see that the pattern here is darker and less complex than the pattern here. This here is after the consumption of LA203, so we can demonstrate objectively an increase in brain entropy. Now, let's move to the second technique. That is the measure of neural activity in the prefrontal cortex, the Brodmann area 10, monitoring cerebral oxygenation and blood volume changes using a functional near-infrared spectroscopy. The instrument to measure blood flow and neural activity, you can buy it new for $200 or $300. So you do not have to believe my words. With a little expense, you can judge for yourself whether this product works or not. Brain activity was studied using a functional near-infrared spectroscopy performed with a wireless mobile wearable device from Mendi Innovations from Sweden. It is like a band that you put on your head, a band like this, very easy. This technique has developed rapidly over the past few years, and miniaturized wearable and wireless devices are now available. The device that gave the results described in the present study has the advantage of a high usage flexibility. You can wear it while you walk, while you study, while you sleep, while you do whatever you like, and measure your brain activity. It evaluates in real time the activity in the anterior parts of the prefrontal cortex, the Brodmann area 10, by measuring the cerebral oxygenation and blood volume changes. The following slides show the function controlled by Brodmann area 10, thus highlighting the importance of studying this area. Brodmann area 10, located in the prefrontal cortex, is involved in a range of complex cognitive functions which include planning and decision-making. Brodmann area 10 is essential for planning the complex actions, setting goals, making decisions. Helps us to evaluate the different options and choose the most appropriate course of action. Working memory. This area plays a crucial role in maintaining and manipulating information in working memory, which is essential for tasks such as problem solving and reasoning. Social cognition. Brodmann area 10 is involved in understanding and interpreting social cues, empathizing with others, and regulating our own behavior in social situations. Self-awareness. These areas involved in self-awareness, including our sense of self, our identity, and our goals. Abstract thought. Rodman area 10 is involved in abstract thought and reasoning, allowing us to think about concepts that are not directly tied to concrete experiences. And these are just some of the functions associated with Rodman area 10. This area is a complex and multifaceted region of the brain that plays a critical role in a wide range of cognitive functions. Near-infrared light is used to evaluate the cerebral hemodynamic responses, since it has been demonstrated that synaptic brain activity is directly correlated in a linear manner with the increase of changes in cerebral oxygen consumption. Accuracy of the measurements was previously validated by comparing the results with those obtained with a stationary laboratory equipment while running a standard cognitive test. Because of its flexibility, the device can be used to evaluate brain activity in a wide range of settings and for a number of purposes. Among these, a neurofeedback training program that is based on a proprietary application that can be freely downloaded on a common smartphone. Using the application, the subject wearing the device looks at the screen of the smartphone, where there is the image of a ball moving horizontally from left to right. The subject has to focus the attention on the task of making the ball move upward, and in so doing, earns points. The ball's movement upward alongside streaks in collected points reflects an increase in neural brain activity. Since the neural activity in Rodman area 10 increases during the sessions, the results are expressed as percentage changes in neural activity in comparison with baseline. Let me explain. You put the band on your hand. You download the free app on your smartphone. Then you start the app, and you have this ball that moves from left to right. Then you have to focus your attention on this ball, and you want to move it upward. In this manner, you focus your attention, and your brain, the activity of your brain increases. You are like a musician or an athlete that is focused on a particular task. The session can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. At the end of the session, the algorithm calculates how much focus, how much brain activity you have achieved. In the next slide, I show you the results obtained with LA203. Without LA203, the neural activity of the prefrontal cortex increased by 12%, and the oxygenation was 1,326 points. So this is what happens normally. Then the subject took LA203 sublingually, and after 20 minutes, repeat the exercise. This time, the neural activity increase is 28%, and the oxygenation is 2,606. So these results demonstrate that LA203 is able to increase your brain activity. Just imagine that if you do this before performing a musical instrument, or performing some other task, or an athletic achievement. In the next slide, I show you the actual screenshot from the smartphone demonstrating what I'm saying. So here on the left, you see the brain activity increasing, the neural activity increasing at 12%, and the oxygenation 1,326. 20 minutes after having taken LA203, you see the increase in neural activity is twice as much, more than twice as much, and the oxygenation also is more than twice as much than before. So LA203 is useful not only for patients who have Alzheimer's or autism or another neurological disease. Now, this also is complex. You know that we have a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. The prefrontal cortex plays a crucial role in regulating and harmonizing the function of the parasympathetic nervous system. The prefrontal cortex exerts a top-down control over the parasympathetic nervous system, meaning it can consciously influence the activity of the system. For example, the prefrontal cortex can help us consciously relax, reduce stress, which activates the PNS. This is of utmost importance in autism and attention deficit hyperactivity disorders. When we meditate or practice yoga, this is what we do. Consciously, we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, we reduce stress, calmness, and so on. The prefrontal cortex is involved in emotional regulation, and emotions have significant impact on the parasympathetic nervous system. For example, feeling stressed or anxious can activate the sympathetic nervous system, while feeling relaxed and content can activate the parasympathetic nervous system. The prefrontal cortex is involved in cognitive appraisal, which is the process of evaluating situations and deciding how to respond. The prefrontal cortex influences our interpretation of events, which in turn affects our emotional response and parasympathetic nervous system activity. The prefrontal cortex can also influence habitual responses to stress. If we have developed unhealthy coping mechanisms for stress, such as overeating or substance abuse, this can activate the sympathetic nervous system and suppress the parasympathetic nervous system. The following slide shows the efficacy of LA203 in regulating and harmonizing the parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system was evaluated using an electroencephalography recording system called MUSE that delves into the intricate interplay of brain waves thanks to algorithms that analyze higher order combinations of primary, secondary, and tertiary characteristics within raw electroencephalography data. Also, this device is freely available. It costs $300. You can buy it and you can check for yourself. In addition to brain waves, a photoplethysmography sensor measures heart rate. With this technique, it is possible to quantitatively assess mental and body relaxation. This device provides a measure of heart rate and percent of time spent in mind relaxation, as well as degree of stillness during a neurofeedback training session. Just imagine a meditator or a yogi. They sit, they stand still, the heart rate goes down, and they are fully relaxed. This device can measure these things, but at variance with old-style meditation, this device now can give us numbers and quantitate and compare. The following slide shows heart rate, percent of mind calmness and stillness before and 20 minutes after sublingual assumption of LA203. Naturally, when you sit and relax, your heart rate goes down, increases. This is normal. So, the heart rate before assumption was 60% below the usual heart rate. But after assumption, it was 70% below usual heart rate, thus demonstrating harmonization of the parasympathetic nervous system. The percent of mind calmness went from 43 to 53%, thus demonstrating a calming effect that is of particular interest in the field of autism. Most impressive was the increase of stillness that went from 0 to 93%, thus demonstrating an efficacy on the harmonization of the parasympathetic nervous system that is of utmost importance in neurological, neurodevelopmental, such as autism, ADHD, neurodegenerative, and psychiatric diseases. Now, these are the actual results. The heart rate, 74, and then it goes down to 71. the calmness of the mind 43% up to 53%, and the stillness from 0 to 93%. I want to elaborate a little bit on the stillness. If we sit here and we want to stay still, we achieve this goal, but our muscles, they make always little movements, even if we are not conscious of those. And the instrument, of course, records every little movement, whether voluntary or not. If we take LA203 and we want to stand still, all our muscles are relaxed and we are able to stay still for real. But this is important. LA203 is not a muscle relaxant. LA203 works on the cerebral cortex. Now the cerebral cortex is calm and sends signals of calmness all over the body, all the organs, including the muscles. Now, finally, there is the Cognitive Assessment Questionnaire. The Cognitive Assessment Questionnaire was developed by Broadbent in 1982 to assess the frequency with which people experience the cognitive failures such as absent-mindedness in everyday life, sleeps and errors of perception, memory, and motor function. With the use of LA203, we observe a significant improvement in the following sub-scores. Forgetfulness, it is a tendency to let go from one's mind something known or planned, for example, names, intentions, appointments, and words. Distractibility, mainly in social situations or interactions with other people, such as being absent-minded or easily disturbed in one's focused attention. These results are consistent with the observations on brain entropy, neurobrain activity, and parasympathetic nervous harmonization. Now, in the following slides, there are some testimonials from real people that have been included in the United States patent application. Since there is no point that I read them in English and then he translates them in Korean, I will ask him to just go and read in Korean all these testimonials.
네, 첫 번째 여성 65세입니다. LA203을 30일간 복용하였습니다. 머리가 무겁고 둔하여 사고력이 원활하지 않았습니다. LA203을 10일간 복용 후 그녀는 머리가 맑아지는 변화를 느꼈습니다. 30일이 지난 지금 그녀의 생각은 10년 전처럼 상쾌하고 좋은 컨디션입니다. 네, 그 다음입니다. 여성 75세, 마찬가지 LA203을 30일간 복용 중입니다. 이분은 장기 암 생존자입니다. 그녀는 언어 흐름, 자기 인식 및 마음 챙김, 장기, 단기, 기억력 향상 및 지인과의 관계 개선이 크게 개선되었다고 말하고 있습니다. 낯선 사람들 또한 화를 훨씬 더 잘 조절할 수 있게 되어 싫어하는 사람과도 화를 내지 않고 관계를 맺을 수 있는 경험을 하였습니다. 네, 74세 남성입니다. 45일 동안 LA203을 복용 중입니다. 6년 전에 이분은 뇌출혈로 인해 머리 수술을 받았습니다. 그 후에 수술 후유증으로 뇌 활동이 현저히 떨어지고 행동이 부자연스러워져 사회 활동에 적응하기 어려움을 겪었습니다. 복용 7일째 되던 날 뇌 활동에 긍정적인 변화를 감지하기 시작했습니다. 복용 후 30일이 경과하자 뇌 활동이 활성화되어 수술 전처럼 사회 활동을 할 수 있게 되었습니다. 그는 남은 평생 동안 이 LA203을 평생 복용하기로 결심하였습니다. 네, 남성 45일 동안 LA203을 복용 중입니다. 2년, 3년 전에 대장 수술을 받았습니다. 현재 체력이 극도로 저하되어 있습니다. 그는 혼자 집에 올 수 없을 정도입니다. 가족의 도움 없이는 외출도 할 수 없습니다. 18일 복용 이후에는 가장 큰 변화는 체력 회복에 변화했습니다. 복용 20일 후에는 의사소통이 가능할 정도로 의사소통 부분이 개선되었습니다. 복용 40일 후에는 동네 슈퍼마켓이나 여러 마트, 사과를 사러 가는 등 쇼핑 미션에 성공하였습니다. 네, 마지막 예시입니다. 남성 78세, 46일간 LA203을 복용하였습니다. 노화로 인한 신경통이 있었다고 생각했습니다. 순간적으로 전기가 흐르는 듯한 신경통, 따끔거림, 자결감, 고통스러운 감각으로 고통받았습니다. 10일간 복용한 이후 그의 몸은 다음과 같은 변화를 보였습니다. 몸이 가벼워지고 더 활기차게 느껴졌습니다. 30일 이후에는 그는 통증을 유발했던 신경통 증상이 사라졌다는 사실을 깨달았습니다.
Now, here are the conclusions. Evidence is obtained by transcranial ultrasonography, functional near-infrared spectroscopy, electroencephalography, and clinical observations demonstrated the high efficacy of LA203 in supporting brain functions, restoring brain entropy, improving the cognitive abilities, and harmonizing the parasympathetic nervous system. In this presentation, I focused on brain entropy, neural activity in Broadman area 10, parasympathetic nervous system harmonization, and clinical reports. However, LA203 is indicated in a number of conditions ranging from neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, etc., neurodevelopmental disorders, autism, attention deficit hyperactivity, dementia, age-related cognitive decline, psychiatric disorders, anxiety, panic attacks, manic depressive syndromes, schizophrenia. We are observing hundreds of subjects who are assuming LA203 for the most diverse conditions, and we witnessed formidable results almost on a daily basis. LA203 is a highly innovative and unique product as described in the previous slides. The crystals described in the previous slides are endowed with drug-like properties. However, since LA203 is constituted by fully natural components, it can also be classified as food, functional food, or supplement, according to each country's regulation, with obvious advantage. In its design, I took care to avoid any risk of reverse engineering. In other words, even detailed analysis of the finished product is not sufficient to copy or clone the product. The US patent application further reinforces the protection of its intellectual property. LA203 was designed with the flexibility necessary to develop entire lines of products, such as injectable, parenteral, topical, nutraceutical, or post-pharmaceutical compositions. In addition, LA203 can be engineered toward a specific subset of diseases. For example, one formulation of LA203 can be tailored for Alzheimer's disease and another one for Parkinson's disease, one for autism and one for ADHD. LA203 is designed to be manufactured by Danabiologics as health foods, health supplements, and drugs for the prevention and treatment of a variety of diseases as previously indicated. Since I am the inventor and developer of LA203, I am committed to provide assistance to Danabiologics as far as manufacturing and development of the product are concerned. The intellectual property and the exclusive manufacturing right will give Danabiologics a formidable competitive edge and the potential to be a game changer in the field of medicine. I thank you so much for your attention. I wish to thank the translator for his excellent work.